Hey everybody, it's Jason from the Texas Gun Vault, and once again I'm coming to you with another range report. And today's range report is on another awesome pistol caliber carbine from my favorite firearms company, B&T. Today we're going to be taking a look at the SPC10 Pro. And it's in my favorite color, flat dark earth or coyote tan is what I believe B&T calls it. Now I know a lot of people have been clamoring for B&T to make a 10mm SPC. Everyone just loves 10mm, and I can understand why, because 10mm definitely packs a punch. Now, before I get into the things that I like and don't like, and of course thank my sponsors and all the people that make these videos possible, I have to future-proof this video. I know right now I am filming this with a pistol brace on this particular gun. I am filming this on November the 20th of 2023, and right now we have an injunction against the ATF pistol brace rule and essentially ban. So we don't know how all of this is going to turn out in the future, so this is to all future viewers. I don't want you saying, you're not allowed to have that. Well, I am, as I am filming this. So I'm going to review this as a pistol, but with a pistol brace. So it is kind of like an SBR because you are allowed to shoulder these braces. You just can't have an actual stock on them. So once again, I hope that future-proofs this video. Now, I want to thank the people that always make these videos possible. First and foremost is the owner of this amazing pistol who lent it to the channel. He's a local fan and subscriber. His name is D, and he has an amazing firearms collection. And so thank you so much, D, as always. I always want to thank my Patreon supporters because through their monthly donations and support, they help keep the lights on around here. I couldn't do it without them. And if you guys want to join my Patreon, there's a link in the description and you can join for as little as $1 a month. And as always, I want to thank my primary sponsor for all of these range reports, my good friend Mark from Brownworks. And while this B&T right here can't take wood panel grips, I know if you like guns like B&T, which are high-end, most likely you have a family heirloom 1911, Beretta 92, CZ75, or Browning High Power, or another gun that can take wood panel grips. Well, I have the perfect grip company for you to go check out, Brownworks. Brownworks is owned by Mark Brown, and he is an artist. He's a craftsman. He is always making amazing grips for his customers, which are one-off and unique to order. He can put on custom logos, custom engravings, make things out of laminate woods, and put on custom textures, custom colors, and custom finishes. Anything you can imagine, he can make. And I want you guys to go over to his website, see all the amazing things that he is creating, all the amazing things that he's doing. He also has an awesome Instagram. And so please go over there, check out what he has to offer. I guarantee you, if you're looking for something special and unique for your very special and unique firearm, Mark Brown is the guy for you. So please go over to his website. I'm going to post a link in the comment section below, as well as a 10% off coupon for your first order. Go over there, see what he has to offer. Make sure you contact Mark if you don't see what you are looking for, and please tell him the Texas Gun Vault sent you. All right, so let's talk about the SPC by B&T. And this is one of their many PCCs, or pistol caliber carbines, and it is chambered in 10mm. I find that the SPC is the most AR-15-like of the lineup from that company. I love the APC and the GHM9, and the SPC, as I said, is a little bit more like an AR-15. To be honest with you, it kind of blends an MP5, an APC, and an AR-15. It's a really unique firearm. And the thing that I think a lot of people like about this is that it does feel like an AR. You have the ability to put on an AR style brace or a stock on the back. Many of the manual of arms are very similar. You have your safety switch right here, magazine release in the very familiar place you would expect it, but you do have that cool side charging handle like an MP5, and it does have the quality that goes into the B&T APC line. It's just a really unique firearm, and it even includes the B&T buffer system that everyone loves, and it really dampens the recoil. So this, I think, is just another high-end PCC. And I know a lot of these kind of blend together. The APC, the GHM, the KH9, and the SPC, they're all pistol caliber carbines, but they're all a little bit different. But this thing is just pretty darn awesome, and it is one of the latest additions to the B&T lineup. So let's go ahead and talk about the things that I like and don't like, and as always, I want to start with the positive first. And the first thing is, it's a B&T, and honestly, they're my favorite firearms company in the world. The quality that goes into these, I think, is just top-notch. When you check out the craftsmanship, the machining, the finish, everything about this just screams quality and perfection. It's just made so darn well, and it's unique. It's not like just another AR style gun. You know, there's many companies out there making AR9s and PCCs out of AR15s, and they all kind of blend and run together. Not B&T. You just hold this and you know it is quality. I've already touched on base on the manual of arms of this, and that it is so similar to that of an AR-15. There is one thing about it which I'll talk about in the things that I don't like that is a little bit different, but everything pretty much is the same. If you're used to shooting an AR style platform, well, this is going to feel great in your hand. I'm also a big fan of the color of this one. I know, as I've gotten older, I just like guns in different colors besides black, and I really feel like the Coyote Tan that B&T puts on just looks absolutely fantastic. Something else I do love, that 3-lug barrel on the front of that, so if you want to attach a suppressor. You'll also notice that the lower receiver is a Gen 2 style, so we have the removable grip, which is compatible with most AR-15 grips if you did want to change that, so it is modular. And something else you might notice is that this 10mm magazine is long and extended. Now, I have reviewed other 10mm B&Ts in the past, and one of my biggest complaints was they use Glock mags, and I know a lot of people always want them to use Glock mags, but I said in the 10mm platform, you're stuck with pretty much just the G20 mags. Well, B&T has fixed this problem. They now take a Glock magazine and they have a proprietary extended magazine base plate for it. So this thing can accommodate up to 30 rounds of 10mm, and it's their own metal base plate here. It extends that magazine, and I think really makes the 10mm platform now in these guns so much more advantageous than it was in the past. I honestly think this is a huge upgrade, and I'm so glad to see B&T adding this, because now it makes the 10mm platform much more appealing to a gun enthusiast like myself. And the last thing I think most people are going to like about this is the ability to add the stock or the brace. Yeah, this is just something that people like to customize, and it's going to feel very familiar to them. And if you buy this as a pistol and you SBR it, well, you can just pop on a stock. If you live in a time or a place where you can have one of these braces, you can pop that on. You don't need any special modification, and you can customize it to your heart's desire. But now let's talk about a couple of things about this gun that I don't like. The first one has to deal with the manual of arms that I mentioned before, and that is something that I don't like about the Gen 2 lowers. When it comes to the bolt release, which is right here on both sides, you push this down. I always preferred the older style where you pushed it in, just like an AR-15. And to be very honest with you, I find this to be a little bit weird. It's a little bit hard for me to manipulate and to close the bolt. I just like that push button. It's not a deal breaker, it's just that I'm used to the other one, and so many other guns have a push button release. The other thing that I don't like about this is the fact that this gun is direct blowback. And I know that's kind of what B&T does. They make direct blowback guns, and they have that hydraulic buffer in the back. However, I have had a GHM9 kind of blow up in my face in the past, and B&T took care of me. They fixed my gun, and I don't know any real problems with these. However, my problem with direct blowback is that you don't really have a very secure locking mechanism. And with a very powerful cartridge like 10mm, 9mm, you're already going to get this bolt coming back possibly before all of the pressures are dissipated and are at a safe level. Now, I'm not saying the gun is unsafe. I have just fallen in love with things like the roller locking system of the MP5. You also have the rotating bolt of the MPX. And I just feel going to a much more powerful cartridge than 9mm, I definitely want a little bit of a locking system in that, just to delay that action just a little bit. But that's really the only two things about this gun that I don't like, and hopefully one day B&T will have some type of locking system, but most likely that would mean that the price of these guns is going to go through the roof, and they're already really expensive as is, but it's just one of those mechanical things that I would feel a little bit better about. But I'm not saying the gun is unsafe, because there's thousands of these in circulation and there's not really any issues whatsoever. I just might be a little bit gun shy because of my GHM9 having that one catastrophic failure. So with all of that said, let's get this thing to the range. I know I've blabbered on a lot about this, so I'm really excited to shoot this, the SPC in 10mm. So as always, I'm going to start off by setting the target at 10 yards. I'm going to load up one of these magazines, just get my first initial shots, get my impressions, see if I have any issues, and see if there's anything about this gun that I discover that I like or don't like, and then proceed to the rest of the range report. And all I can say is, wow, this gun is crazy, crazy accurate. And I haven't even had time really to zero this aim point acro yet. I'm really impressed with that. Now I can tell you, shooting 10mm is definitely much more of a thud than 9mm. You feel it in your shoulder. It's not a sharp recoil, it's definitely more of a thud. It's like shooting a 45 versus a 9. It's not a sharper or more powerful recoil. It just has that slower, heavier recoil impulse to it. I also really like the trigger in this. I would have to say this feels very much like a duty trigger, probably in the 5 to 6 pound range, and I think it is perfect for this type of PCC. In fact, I want to adjust the camera and get out the lineman trigger pull gauge and actually see how heavy this trigger is. It definitely feels good, it has nice staging, but I think we need to see how heavy this trigger actually is. Alright, so I already told you that this has a duty trigger in it. This isn't one of the specialty aftermarket triggers, so I definitely wanted to try out the trigger gauge on this and to see what this thing is actually pulling at. And by the way, once again, I want to give a huge shout out to my local fan and subscriber Craig, who gave this lineman trigger pull gauge to the channel. Alright, so let's check this thing out. Of course, we're going to need to safety check the fire and make sure there's no ammunition in there. Looks like we are good. And let's turn this thing on and let's see what the trigger pull is on this. Make sure that everything is clear. And here we go. Our first pull, we have 5 pounds, 10.3 ounces. Our second pull, we have 6 pounds, 2.7 ounces. Our third pull is 6 pounds, 2.9 ounces. Fourth pull, 6 pounds, 9.9 ounces. And our final pull, 6 pounds, 5.9 ounces, which gives us an average of 6 pounds, 3.1 ounces. So once again, this is definitely a duty trigger. It is not a precision target trigger, but this is exactly the type of trigger that I would want in a PCC just like this. I find that it's very predictable. I think overall it's a really good trigger. All right, so let's get back to the rest of this range report. And as you can see, that's a little bit of a heavy trigger pull, and some people are going to say it's too much, but I think for a PCC in 10mm, it's absolutely perfect. For the philosophy of use of this gun, I wouldn't want this thing on a hair trigger or have a target trigger in it. I think this thing is absolutely perfect for what the gun is. The other thing that I did notice upon reviewing the shooting footage is that I am getting quite a few sparks out of the ejection port, and this is one of my concerns with direct blowback and 10mm. I think this bolt is coming back just a smidge too soon, and we're getting some unspent powder and a lot of gas coming out because the pressures haven't been lowered as the projectile leaves the barrel. That just isn't the nature of direct blowback in a powerful cartridge like 10mm. I'm not saying that it's unsafe. I'm just saying it does concern me just a little bit, and having a locking mechanism to delay that I think would add so much to this platform, but that's just my personal preference. All right, so now what we're going to do is set out the target at about twice the distance, see if anything changes. I'm going to assume this gun is going to remain extremely accurate, but I just want to shoot this thing some more. So here we go, double the distance and another magazine. And at the further distance, the fact that this aim point acro has not been adjusted is now coming into play. So I do need to adjust this before I go to the bench resting portion. However, the results I think are pretty much the same. It was a pretty darn good grouping. It feels great in my shoulder, and I do like the trigger in this. So far, the gun is running great and is a lot of fun to shoot, especially if you like 10mm. All right, so let me go ahead and bench the rest of this, but of course I need to adjust this aim point before I do, and I think I'm just going to get some great results at the furthest distance that I can shoot at this range, which of course is only 25 yards. And I know some people are going to say, that's not far enough. This is just the range that I have the ability to film at. So you got to forgive me on that. But here we go, bench resting at 25 yards. And let's see what this gun can do at that distance. And I'm pretty happy with those results. Now there's one thing that's not being captured on film here that I do want to talk about, and maybe you can see a little bit of it. But when these casings are being ejected from this gun, they are flinging out at very high velocity. They're even hitting the wall on the side, and they're going to the other side of the range. Really, really far for brass out of a PCC. I don't know if that's good or bad, but it is really strong. I have never seen brass get flung out of a PCC like this before. So you guys can tell me if that's a good or bad thing, but it is really, really powerful. All right, so the next thing I want to do is give my wife Becky a chance to shoot this. She always loves to shoot every gun that comes through the Texas Gun Vault, and she's a very different type of shooter than I am and likes different things. So I'm curious what she's going to think of a 10mm SPC from B&T. Well, let me load up another magazine and give her a chance to shoot this. And I think she shot that pretty darn well. She told me after shooting it that she definitely prefers these B&Ts in 9mm. Not that 10mm was unmanageable or she didn't like it. It just is a little bit harder hitting. Now the other thing too she said is she had to do a mag well hold because the handguard was getting a little bit hot. I think I had shot about 100 rounds before she got a chance to do this. So it was getting a little bit warm, but it wasn't hot by any stretch of the imagination. But for her it was a little bit uncomfortable, so she did the mag well hold. But that was the only issue that she had, but she did have a lot of fun with it and said it was very accurate. All right, so the next thing we're going to do is the quick magazine change test. Now I'm kind of curious because of course this is that Glock magazine with that B&T base plate extender on it. Plus the magazine's going here at a little bit of an angle. I don't always like that, and this trigger is a little bit heavy, so it might not be as fast as some of the other guns that I can shoot. So I'm going to load up 2 of these magazines. I want to see how fast I can shoot this with this duty trigger, drop this magazine out of here, get a new magazine in the gun, get the gun back in action, and just see how fast I can shoot it, and of course just have some fun with it. All right, and I said I really liked this trigger earlier in this range report, but this is where this trigger is probably going to slow you down a little bit. It is a little bit heavy, and I had a hard time getting a good rhythm with this trigger. It's definitely slower than a more finely tuned trigger, but it's definitely a very workable trigger. You'll also notice that all the shots were on target, but the grouping got really, really big. Because 10mm hits a little bit more, this gun is jumping around a little bit more than its 9mm counterpart. So if you're going to use this in competition, that's something I definitely think that you have to factor in. So before I give you guys my final thoughts on this gun, I just want to load up one of these magazines one more time to full capacity and just see how fast I can shoot this. And being 10mm, this is probably going to be a pretty darn expensive mag dump, but I just got to have a little bit of fun with this. So here we go, the obligatory mag dump. And the same issue I had before with the quick magazine change, it's just really hard to get a really fast rhythm with this gun. The trigger is just a little bit heavy, and of course being 10mm, it just jumps around a little bit. But it's definitely manageable, and man, oh man, is this gun so much fun to shoot. But let's talk about shooting this gun and what I recommend. Now, if you're looking at a gun like the SPC10, I would recommend only buying it if you plan on SBRing it or are living in a time or place where you can put on one of these braces. One of the downsides to this gun, if you don't have the ability to do that, is you do have a full-length AR-15 buffer tube in this. In fact, when I got this in for review, it was before the injunction. I was thinking, what am I going to do about this? Because this gun could be a little bit hard hitting, and if I have it out here, it could come back and hit me in the face if I'm trying to use the optic. I guess I could put it up here on my cheek, but that might not be as fun either. But when you put a stock, or in this case, a brace on this, it makes this gun very practical and so much more fun to shoot. So if you're looking on spending the money on this, I would definitely SBR it or make sure you can put on a pistol brace, because it makes owning this gun very practical, a lot of fun, and way more effective than if it didn't have it. Some guns it doesn't really matter as much because they don't have this buffer tube coming back into your face, but this gun has it and it is required for the operation of this gun, so you cannot remove it. So you have to do something with it. So having that brace in stock, I think, is so important. But overall, this gun is absolutely amazing. This thing is so much fun. It is so well built. It is awesome. It's a B&T. It's in the right color. It's in a super powerful caliber. It is crazy accurate. I didn't have any malfunctions, failures to feed, or anything else with it. It has very similar manual of arms to that of an AR-15. It just feels good in your hands. And man, as I said, the quality on this thing is off the chart. Just take a look at one of these things in a gun shop or a gun show and you'll know exactly what I mean. Just the polymer, the metal, everything in it just seems to be machined to perfection. So on my star system, how would I rate the SPC10 Pro from B&T? Well, it is 10 millimeter. I did have a few issues with it, and because it is direct blowback, I do get a lot of sparks out of this, which do concern me. Well, I can only give this thing 4 out of 5 stars. It's not the best B&T I've ever shot. Now, I have to say, this thing is super accurate and a lot of fun. And I own an SPC PDW myself, but it's chambered in 9, and I really enjoy shooting that one. 10 is just really powerful, but I have no issues with it. There's just a few of the things that I talked about that I'm not 100% sure are right. Why are the casings being ejected so powerfully? Very different than any other PCC that I have. But if you're going to use this in competition and really shoot it fast, well, that 10 millimeter, it's going to jump around a little bit more. I find that the other B&Ts, like the KH9, the APCs, they're much easier to keep on target when you're shooting fast. But I do give them a lot of credit for definitely addressing the magazine issue. But if you're a 10 millimeter fan, I think you're going to absolutely love this and would probably give this thing 5 out of 5 stars. But me, maybe I'm a little bit more biased to 9, but that's where I'm personally coming from. But I would definitely recommend this gun wholeheartedly if you're looking for a 10 millimeter PCC. But 4 out of 5 stars as it sits. And especially if you did not have a brace or a stock, that number might even go lower because it might not be as comfortable to shoot. But 4 out of 5 stars, B&T SPC10 Pro, another win for B&T. This thing is absolutely fantastic. What a great firearm. And I'm really looking forward to seeing what other amazing guns B&T has in store, because everything they make, honestly, is just awesome. So what do you guys think? Do you like the concept of the SPC10? Do you like 10 millimeter in general? And do you love B&T as much as I do? Well, let me know in the comment section below. So, as always, thanks for watching.